Hey, it's Aaliyah Nye. This is Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
It's the fastest, most unpredictable speedway on Earth.
Iron made this place. Mined, smelted, forged. And every spring, we gather round and celebrate. Iron sharpening iron.
Oh, he gets tattooed!
But in order to take it all home, you need nerves of steel. The big one is back. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover, good to be with you in studio here in Tuscaloosa for today's show as we take a look at Alabama women's basketball, men's basketball, softball as well. Very busy time coming up here at the Capstone. We'll start our show by going through what's coming up, plus our headlines, thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young, the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything in a very interactive way on today's show. We'll start by checking in with the head coach of the Crimson Tide women's basketball team, Kristy Curry. A lot to talk about after the win against Auburn and tonight's final home game against LSU. Then we'll check in with Alabama softball with Catelyn Riley, who's done a great job playing both as a hitter and as a pitcher for this Crimson Tide softball team. She'll talk about her journey from originally East Tennessee to Ole Miss and now finally here to Alabama. Then we'll take a look at some Courtside Cam highlights because we've been having fun on the Courtside Cam over the last few games. First of all, the men's game, a great victory for the Crimson Tide this last time out against Mississippi State, and then the women's game, a remarkable comeback, especially at the end of the first half against Auburn. Start our headlines with a look at men's basketball. Good to see a win against Mississippi State, 111-73 on Tuesday. One of Alabama's better games start to finish that we've seen in conference play. Mark Sears' standout performances, of course, going back to the past week against Kentucky. He has been named the SEC Player of the Week for his efforts for the Crimson Tide. Alabama currently ranked number 6 in the AP poll, dropped a little bit after the losses to Auburn and Missouri, but now ranked number 6 in the Associated Press poll. Coming up on Saturday, taking on the team right in front of them in the AP poll, the Tennessee Volunteers. 3 p.m. will be the start time in Knoxville. Our radio coverage will begin at 2 across the network. Women's basketball, speaking of rivalries, a great win against Auburn this past Sunday, 66-50. You'll see the Courtside Cam highlights coming at the end of the show. But for Alabama to be down 16, all of a sudden have a 17-0 run to close out the second quarter, lead by a point at halftime. Alabama never looked back after that. Alabama remains in the top 25 in the AP poll, coming in at number 20 this week. Aaliyah Nye with her first three-pointer against Auburn on Sunday. She became the all-time record holder for Alabama three-pointers, and she's done that in only 3 seasons for Alabama, and there are still so many games left for Aaliyah Nye this year, including tonight. Alabama hosting the LSU Tigers. A later tip-off coming up at 8 p.m. all across the network. We'll have our coverage start at 7:45, but we hope to have you join us for Alabama LSU tonight. Then the Crimson Tide will be on the road coming up on Sunday against Oklahoma. To the Diamond, softball and baseball, the Crimson Tide this past weekend, a very winning weekend at home for the first time this year at Rhodes Stadium as they went 4-1 at the Bama Bash. This weekend, a new crop of teams come in for the Crimson Classic. We'll have you covered on radio on the Crimson Tide Sports Network for all of those games coming up for Alabama softball. Same for the baseball team. What a way they were able to close out a clean sweep of the Jacksonville Baseball Classic at the home of the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp this past week. Beat Coastal Carolina, beat NC State, which really was supposed to be the marquee game of the weekend for Alabama against a team that went to the College World Series a year ago, won that game 4-0. Then the next Sunday, got down 10-0 against Ohio State. No problem for the Crimson Tide. They rally back, have one of the largest comeback victories, believed to be the largest comeback win in Alabama baseball history, as Alabama won the final game against the Buckeyes on a walk-off home run by Will Hodo. Hodo, a great performance for Alabama, also at homer later this week against Jacksonville State. Crimson Tide won that midweek ball game 20-11 on Tuesday. Now this weekend, North Dakota State comes to town for a 3-game series. We'll have radio coverage coming up for you on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. 4 o'clock coming up on Friday, 2 o'clock on Saturday, and 1 p.m. on Sunday. Final notes around Alabama athletics. I mentioned Will Hodo getting that walk-off home run. He was named the SEC Co-Player of the Week in baseball, so a great honor for Will Hodo. Gymnastics team, after posting a season-high score last time out against Auburn, they'll be taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks coming up on Friday night. Doris Lemnole, what hasn't she won? She is now the indoor track SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, so getting these awards away from the track in addition to being one of the best we've seen in Alabama history in track and field and cross country. Roll Tide to Doris. Then in softball, of course, the game's coming up this weekend, but our friends at Learfield Studios putting out a new episode of Team 29. That's dropping on this Thursday, so great behind-the-scenes footage, getting to learn more from Patrick Murphy and the players all about Alabama softball. We'll be talking softball coming up in just a moment, but right now we want to check in with the head coach of the Crimson Tide women's basketball team, Kristy Curry. Her team in great position after beating Auburn on Sunday, but now we look ahead to what's coming up starting tonight with Alabama against LSU. Here's a one-on-one conversation with Kristy Curry.
First of all, what a year it's been at home for the Crimson Tide. You had to love the crowd support we received on Sunday against Auburn.
Yeah, great crowd. And it's been unbelievable to watch our attendance grow. And this team has deserved a lot of support. I mean, certainly the way they've performed. And we hope that with the late tip on Thursday night, that everybody will still come out and support, and especially Crimson Chaos. And a home court advantage in this league really matters. So we appreciate our fan support throughout the season.
Well, the Crimson Tide got that win on Sunday against the Auburn Tigers. And Alabama struggled to get going in that ball game, at one point trailed by 16. How'd you see your team midway through the second quarter get some defensive stops and then convert on the offensive end?
Yeah, whether it was, no excuses, 3 games in 7 days, Auburn had a week to prepare, whatever the reason was, it can't happen again. You've got to put solid 40 minutes together this week twice and make sure that we understand the urgency that comes with that. So, we didn't do a very good job to start the game, but, when you look at, I think we went on a 53-21 run. I think the way you finish games is important as well. So as non-positive as it was to start, I thought we really finished the game positively. And we got, though, to put 40 minutes together Thursday against LSU.
Comeback really fueled by some three-pointers by Aaliyah Nye, and we've been talking three-pointers about Aaliyah Nye because now she is the school record holder for three-pointers in Alabama history. Just how significant is that milestone, especially considering how few attempts, how few years and games she's played in for the Crimson Tide?
Yeah, to do that in 3 years is amazing. It's certainly a credit to her work ethic and the time and energy she's put in beyond practice shooting the basketball. I mean, she very rarely misses. It's a lot of fun to watch day in and day out. I think, too, what has impressed me, it's not just the three, it's how she's become a three-level scorer. So doing a much better job of going off the bounce, doing a much better job of the mid-range, and, continue to watch her development evolve has been a lot of fun because she puts so much work into it. So Betsy Harris, did it in 4 years, and Aaliyah did it in 3. And, I mean, that's an amazing group of people to be a part of, and to do that in 3 years, we're so proud of her.
Certainly are, and of the senior class. We talked just before the senior day ceremony, but how meaningful was it to see the seniors be recognized with their families and also some of the support staff members that don't get the recognition they really deserve?
Yeah, it's a really special day, especially when we can cap it off with a win. It certainly makes the day much more special. I think, we didn't wait till our last home game because we wanted to make sure it was on a weekend. So our families, don't have to miss as much work. The travel's easier. I know Oklahoma will be celebrating this weekend with their 6, and we're just fortunate to be able to have a good Sunday home game and really special. I mean, obviously, the team behind each one of these young ladies every day is their families, and we're blessed to have such great families behind our young women.
Some good news this week before we dive into the LSU matchup. Gianna Cunningham named to the SEC Community Service Team. Just how have you seen her impact this team and this community off the floor?
Yeah, she's been really involved in our student athlete advisory committee and done a lot of leadership and, a lot from leadership roles with that. And she's done a great job of supporting that area. And we've had so many, all of our seniors have given back to the community. I mean, that's a really hard decision, I'm sure, to make. And, but she's certainly worthy of that, and just really proud of how our team, all of our team, including Gianna, gets out and gives back to the community.
So now Alabama against LSU on Thursday night. What's going to be most important about facing this LSU team? How is LSU maybe different than the team we've seen in the past?
Well, I mean, they've got a big three. We're going to have to defend and rebound, do a really good job of defending the paint inside out. It's not going to be where we can get off to a poor start. We've got to put 40 solid minutes together. We've got to have a lot of toughness and grit. Our toughness and our grit will be challenged, and collectively we have to play our best 40 minutes of basketball because it's not only LSU but the next game on our schedule, and that's the time of year you have to be playing your best basketball.
Well, we look forward to it. Thursday night, Alabama against LSU. Coach, just thank you for your time you've given us, and best of luck against the Tigers. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Alabama racing is back. Don't miss the opportunity to experience the NASCAR Cup Series at Talladega. Witness the return of racing on April 27th and be a part of NASCAR's biggest and baddest track. From the blistering speed on the track to the unparalleled fan access of the Talladega Garage experience, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Tickets are on sale now. Secure your seats today at TalladagaSuperspeedway.com. We look forward to tonight's matchup, Alabama against LSU, and a reminder we will have a courtside cam presented by NASCAR coming up for tonight's game with the Tigers. In softball, one of the new faces on Team 29 this season for Alabama is Catelyn Riley. She's a new face, but she is a familiar face. She's played against Alabama before, going back to her 3 years playing for the Ole Miss Rebels. She details her decision on transferring from Ole Miss to Alabama and what she may do after her playing days are done in this week's conversation from the Advantage Center, our podcast studio. Here's a one-on-one conversation with Alabama softball's Catelyn Riley. Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roger Hoover, great to be with you in Tuscaloosa at Saban Field at the Advantage Center inside our podcast studio. Now, please be joined by Alabama softball's Catelyn Riley as we talk about her senior year in Crimson after a little bit of time in red and blue. But Catelyn, it's great to have you with us. How's everything going? Roll Tide.
It's great to be here, and I really appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, we're certainly excited to hear about your journey to Alabama softball, originally from East Tennessee, a little bit of time at Ole Miss, but now you've made your way here. And just, I know we're only a few weeks into the season, but how much fun have you had getting to play for the Crimson Tide?
I've had so much fun. The girls and I have clicked like really, really quick, and like we've been amazing together and all that kind of stuff. So I've been having so much fun.
What do you like about this team so far?
I like how we're easy to get along with. So like if there's something that needs to be said, we'll say it. But also if like something's going good, we'll just keep going with it. And that kind of stuff is really cool.
How'd you guys start to gel together in the fall?
It was more, Murph put a lot of it on to start with, but then it came from us seniors kind of getting all the girls together at one of our apartments and just having dinner and just like getting to know each other better and just finding the stuff that clicks with each person.
Who were some of the most welcoming people your first couple days here?
I would have to say Marley Giles and Kendall Clark because they have welcomed us with open arms. And then as like a pitching staff, we do like every now and then again, we do like dinners and all that kind of stuff together. So it's really been fun.
Yeah, that's a great relationship to build with your catchers. How does Marley keep you guys on track during the game?
So everyone's a little different. It's just all how she likes to talk to you and that kind of stuff. For me, I'm more of a level-headed person. I just need, hey, let's keep going, that kind of stuff. Some people may need, let's get after it kind of stuff, but everyone is different. And so she caters that to people.
Well, continuing to look at the beginning of the season for Alabama, you have all this work in the fall, you have all the work in January, just getting ready to play that first game. How meaningful was it when you stepped on the field at Candrea Classic, getting to play for Alabama, also hitting a run in your first home run with your first game with Alabama against Michigan State?
It was really cool. I was really excited to be there. I'd never been to Arizona before. I say that as I've never been outside the airport before. So it was really cool to like experience that. And it was also Jocelyn's like home weekend visit. So it was good to meet all her family and see where she was from too. But going back to the softball side of things, it was really exciting to like calm the nerves. And we're playing on the same team now. We're not practicing against each other anymore. So it was great to just play somebody else for a change. So
yeah, do you like that about the softball schedule? Hey, you have a very busy weekend in Arizona, a very busy weekend obviously in Clearwater, and then that continues even back here for these home tournaments.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love how we're go, but it's also nice that these next few weekends we're home for a span of 4 weekends in a row. So last weekend we're home this weekend. We're going to be home I think again next weekend, and then we open up SEC play with Mississippi State. So it's really excited to actually be home for a little bit. So
Well, you're a unique player for the Crimson Tide, a two-way player, somebody that, of course, works in the circle as a pitcher, and then we get to see you at the plate as well as one of our good power hitters and someone that can drive in runs. Have you always liked playing both sides of softball?
yes, sir. I classify one as, so if one's not working, the other one's more of like a mental release for the other. So like if I'm having an off day hitting, pitching's more of like, all right, just go out there and have fun, vice versa with hitting. So it's more they balance each other, yin and yang kind of style.
Does it make it difficult, your practice schedule and what you have to do? Because it's not the same for the position players and the pitchers every day.
No, so for me, I'll either start with bullpen or start with hitting, and then I'll switch halfway through practice. So I don't do a lot of defensive work in the practice with teams. So I do some on my own, but also just work in when I can when we have the time for it. So
Well, let's talk about your approach at the plate. What's your mindset? What are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to pepper it off the wall, and then good things will happen from there. Trying to hit a hole through whatever side of the fence we see that we need for the weekend.
And it's led to some good results. Have you always been a good power hitter?
Yes, sir. That's been my biggest thing. I'm not the quickest person in the world, but I'm pretty strong. So
Definitely are. So again, good results at the plate. How about inside the circle? What's Catelyn Riley like?
I have to remind myself to breathe because if I get too fast, I throw through everything. So for me, it's like remaining calm, level headed. That's what I need the most out of everything, and that's what I try to stay and try to be present with everybody when I'm there.
What are the different pitches you throw in when you're on your game having success? What are they doing to the hitters?
It's kind of baiting them to swing at what they don't want to really swing at. For me, I'm heavy drop. That's no lie. That's what I throw 90% of the time, and I think anybody in the country would know that. But it's just like see it and just let it break. So
Do you get more satisfaction after striking somebody out when you're a pitcher or hitting a home run or getting a clean base hit? What feels better for you?
for me, it's more of if I can get 21 ground ball outs, I would be over the moon. That's how I think about it, and like that's my approach to anything in the game. Is like as a pitcher, I want 21 ground ball outs. That's what I want. So
That's really good. Again, it's leading to success for the Crimson Tide already this season. We'll talk about what's coming up in a moment. But first, we want to go all the way back to where your journey begins in softball. First of all, tell us where you're from.
I'm from a small town called Dandridge, Tennessee. It's about 30 minutes east of Knoxville.
And that's good. And you grew up in a very athletic household. What can you tell us about your parents?
Yes, so my dad played college football at Tennessee and won a national title with them in the '98 season. And then my mom was a sports agent for a couple years on and off before I was born. So,
So sports always around the household, right?
oh yeah, my dad's two brothers both played football. My older cousin played basketball, football. My younger ones play golf. One's a cheer, dance. One's playing basketball. Finals tonight, something like that. So yeah, it's exciting.
Well, we've talked with a lot of kids of famous athletes before, like your dad was at Tennessee. But how about with a mom that's a sports agent? Because that's kind of a different world all to its own.
Oh yeah, she's I say the Superman of our family. She does a little bit of everything, but now she's more in like the legal side of aspects of just life in general. She's amazing. She's a saint. Between me and my dad, when I'd pitch growing up, she was the calming source because we can both get a little hot headed some days.
And that allow you to any special experiences, getting to see kind of what she does on a day-to-day basis.
It kind of just to see her be a mom, but also be a coach's wife is really exciting because we would have a bunch of my dad's football players over at the house. So I say I have big brothers all over the country. So when we go play in South Carolina later this year, I'll have some people come out that I get to see, and I'm really excited.
So your dad, head coach at Jefferson County High School. Did you grow up on the sidelines basically all his games?
Didn't really ever want to be on the sidelines. It was more I wanted to be running around in the parking lot, playing flag football, just being in sports, doing whatever I could just to be up and moving. So Mama always calls me a wanderer because I just kind of move around a lot. I also pace all the time in the dugout. If anyone's ever noticed that, I still do that to this day. I feel like I can't sit still some days. So.
So with that, I imagine pretty competitive growing
Oh
up.
yeah, for sure. I had no choice. I was sandwiched in between two boy cousins because I'm an only child, and we would wrestle, we would play football out in the yard, we'd throw ball out in the yard, all that kind of stuff.
That's good. And eventually that led to softball. What was your introduction to this sport?
It was actually when I lived in, I think, Georgia. I started playing with the girls who were older than me, and they were my best friends because we were in the same kind of age bracket in school. And I just fell in love with it ever since. What really got me started into pitching was more of I saw somebody who was always doing something during the game, and I'm like, I want to do that because some days I can have a little bit of a squirrel brain, like, oh, what is this? Where's that? So it really keeps me locked in when I'm constantly doing something.
When did it start to click for you that this could be a path towards college softball?
I kind of figured it out between my eighth grade and my freshman year. That's also when I went through a massive growth spurt and I was starting to figure out my body some more. And I was like, oh, I'm actually way better at this than I am basketball because I grew up in the era of like, oh, I thought I was going to go play basketball like somewhere. Thought I was going to be a great basketball player. Turns out I was only 5'10" and not 6'4". So that turned into me really putting passion into softball and I fell in love with it and I've never looked back.
A lot of times when we talk with softball players, baseball players, and they give us their high school stats, pretty eye-popping numbers. Any crazy records or any stats you put up during your days at Jeff County?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. We won a not a national championship, a state title my sophomore year in 2019 before COVID happened. So my junior year, that's when COVID happened. So
And that had to be tough for it to be shut down. How'd you kind of stay grounded in that time, both with your studies and sports, and try to make sure you were still on that path towards playing college sports?
So for me, it was more of like my dad was there also to catch me a lot. So I was very grateful for that and him in that aspect. We had exactly like 43 feet in our side yard where we could throw. So that's what I did a lot of times. For me, we also had a field that wasn't too far away that was just wide open because I come from an agricultural area. And so we'd go out and hit there. We'd hit a bow net, that kind of stuff.
And then eventually sports came back and you got
Mhm.
back in your senior year. Recruiting process started. Was it a whirlwind when all these colleges started reaching out to you, wanting you to come to their campus and play softball?
It was a little different. I knew I always wanted to play in the SEC. That was my dream from the time I was little. And so it was not a lot of SECs reached out to me when I was first going through it. And so it was like just trusting the process and just trusting what would come my way.
And eventually an offer came from Ole Miss. So what
Mhm.
can you tell us about the decision to sign with the Rebels?
I knew I wanted to just go play in the SEC, and it was my chance to do that. And so took the leap of faith. And my mama said, if I didn't believe you could go live 7 hours away, I wouldn't let you. So that was something that really put some faith in myself from her that I could go and live 7 hours away from home because I am an only child and I am very family oriented, which is something I still am to this day.
And speaking of your family, your dad, again, a great football player at Tennessee, won a national championship there. You're only about 30, 40 minutes away from that campus.
Mhm.
So was it a different feeling blazing your own path, going to another school in the SEC versus maybe that hometown feeling?
I knew it was something I always wanted to do. I knew I didn't really want to stay super close to home, but I also knew I didn't want to go, say, West Coast or up north. My one thing was I don't want to be cold when I play. So I knew anything above like the state of Kentucky was like out the question from the jump. So
So you make your way to Oxford, Mississippi. What are you most proud of your years at Ole Miss?
being a teammate in person, I was, but also being involved in FCA while I was there. I was heavily involved with that, but also just knowing people around the community and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then you got to play at a high level there as well. Was the transition from high school softball to college softball difficult for you?
It was, but I also had some really good support systems that would help me along the way. My high school head softball coach, she talked to her a ton my freshman and sophomore year. Same thing with my pitching coach from high school. I would talk to her all the time, just like more about the mental side of things because like they'd been there and they had done it. And I just needed somebody of reason some days that it wasn't in my day to day.
Well, as an Ole Miss softball player, you get to play the Crimson Tide,
Mhm.
both I imagine in Oxford and here in Tuscaloosa.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about coming to the Rhodes House as a visitor. What was that experience like?
I kind of mentioned this in our weekend warm up last weekend, but it was really cool. The fans were amazing, and I truly believe that they do make a difference on the opponents because they did for me when I was there. So it's really cool to have them on my side this year. And so it's awesome to see because the fans get after it, and I love it.
Did you hit well? Did you pitch well when you were here before?
I pitched all right. I didn't pitch great, and not by a long shot, but it was okay.
Well, your Ole Miss days come to a close. You're able to graduate from the University of Mississippi as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Kind of what was in your mind about maybe finishing out your college experience somewhere else?
I knew I was gonna graduate in 3 years, and I was like, if I'm gonna make the change, I need to do it now so it doesn't affect my studies from here on out. Because that was one thing my mama also taught me growing up is like studies also come first because you're not just an athlete, you're also a student and a human. So that was the biggest thing for me. It was like getting another degree was really important for me.
And then you go in the transfer portal. How quickly did Alabama reach out to you?
They were really quick to reach out. I loved it. Lance was my first phone call. He was amazing. I knew I wanted to come on a visit from the jump and never looked back.
What impressed you most during that visit?
Probably how they were able to balance my visit, but also a camp at the same time. So they were working at softball camp that same time as I was on a visit. So it was really cool to see them still be involved with me, but also being involved in camp at the same time because I never felt distant from them while they were there. Like, because there was every bit of 100 kids probably or more at camp, and they were still heavily involved in like meeting all the campers, like recruiting, because it was probably, I would assume, a recruiting camp while they were there. So it was like those kind of camps, and it was cool to like see that welcoming experience. Sorry.
So when you were here, did you have the feeling you'd sign with Alabama? Did you take a little bit of time? When did it all click that this was a place to be?
I took a little bit of time from when I took a step back just to like process everything, make sure it was the right decision, wouldn't rush into it. And I prayed about it a lot and had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, just to make sure I was going to do the right thing. And I wholeheartedly believe I did. So.
What was the moment like when you either called Coach Murphy or got in touch with the coaching staff and said, "Hey, I'm going to play here for the Crimson Tide"?
It was amazing. I think Coach was cooking dinner with her daughter, Dylan, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, Dylan, you need to come wish her like congratulations," which is really cool as someone who wants to go into the coaching world to see that as a female coach who's having a family going through it all. It made me feel like, okay, this was the best move for me to see a family atmosphere while I'm playing and what I want to do when I grow up.
And that's part of the unique status you have on this team. You get to work with, really everybody on this staff. Let's talk more about Coach Bro. What have you learned from her?
Just level-headedness, I would feel like, and just little things that are intangibles and that kind of stuff that come with the game, that not everyone knows the day to day. Like some days, like pitching, she's like, "Hey, like, why don't you take a break for a second? Like, just breathe." Like that kind of reminder and that kind of stuff, which is really good for me.
And then how about Lance with the pitching side?
Oh my goodness, he's amazing. Me and him click. I feel like I can ask him any question. Like, no question is a dumb question, I would say, which is amazing. So.
And then how does he get you organized for your starts or just scouting reports on the other teams? Is it a lot of video work? How do you get ready to go on game day?
It's more individualized to the person. For me, I like a lot of film and like watching a lot of people. I also don't like watching film on myself by myself, so he'll watch it with me, which is amazing, to see what I need to work on from the previous weekend and that kind of stuff. But it's very tailored to the individual pitcher of like our freshman, Brea Hodges. She may not want a lot of film like on opponents, but I want to see other people's swings and that kind of stuff. Same thing with Jocelyn Brisky. Like she may not want a lot of video, but same thing, like whoever wants it can have it. It's there for you to take.
Oh, that's really good. So those coaches do such a good job. And then Coach Murphy's really known all across campus, all across sports, for the way he's able to motivate teams, talking about Mudita, how that really helped the men's basketball team make the Final Four a year ago. What's it like when he's talking to the entire team, getting you guys ready to go for either practice or a ball game?
Some days I feel like, most days actually, I feel like I'd run it through a brick wall for him. He's like another parent figure in my life that I am grateful to have in my corner. I wouldn't trade him for the world. He's an amazing human and just truly cares about us as people, but also as athletes, which is amazing because not all programs do that, which is really cool to see.
It really is cool to see. And again, now you get to be part of the Rhodes House culture. You got to go to the weekend warm up at Baumhower's last week. How much fun is an event like that, getting to a little taste of what's to come later on that day?
Oh, it was so exciting. I loved it. I love getting to meet the fans and get out and experience and like hands-on one-on-one conversations, which is really cool that you can't always have right after games and that kind of stuff because our families signing autographs, that kind of stuff. So it was really cool to have one-on-one interactions.
Yeah, and that's coming up the rest of the season as
Mhm.
well. And also, that's kind of part of trivia night. How much fun was your first trivia night
Oh,
here a
I
few
had
weeks
so
ago?
much fun. Me and Emily Winstead are going to try to convince our parents to go in on a table next year together because we had that much fun on it. So,
And those fans, I imagine you're seeing every time you go back out to
oh,
play,
yeah,
right?
for sure. They're amazing. And it was so much fun to see. And then just like the live auction stuff was really cool as well. So,
Well, that's a lot of good fan support for you as you get to play for the Crimson Tide. And we know this weekend is going to be really, really special. The one thing that Alabama softball does always well, senior day, and tailoring a day all around you and your experience. And even though you're still only a few weeks as a member of the team this season, how meaningful is it to have senior day coming up this weekend?
it means a lot to me because I'll have so many different supporters from all different walks of life. And I can't wait to go out there and just like see everyone and get to interact with more people, but also to see my people that I have been through the journey with and that have supported me since I was a freshman in high school.
It gets pretty emotional on senior
Oh,
day.
yeah.
You ready for that?
Oh, yeah. I cried making my video, so there will most definitely be tears shed.
Well, that's really cool. Great your family and so many people get to come see you play this year as this Crimson Tide team. We're still a few weeks away from SEC play starting. What's going to be most important for this group over the next few weeks before conference action begins?
Just staying together and trusting the process because there will be highs and lows, but as long as we stay together and stay level, it'll work its way through it.
What do you feel like this team's capable of this year?
I think we're capable of winning a national title because we are the most together I've ever been on a team, and also just togetherness and loving each other because when the good times are good and the bad times are bad, we're still going to love each other no matter what.
Well, certainly we hope your final game this year is in Oklahoma City, winning national championship for the Crimson Tide. But once that final out's completed, this softball season comes to a close. What is next for Catelyn Riley?
I'm going to be GAing here next year as well to finish up my master's program, but also I would love to get into the coaching world and possibly play professionally as well.
Do you like how more options are coming open in the professional world in softball?
For sure, all the way from AU to independent organizations that have the ability of having pro teams and that kind of stuff, which is awesome.
So you want to max out your playing career, but then coaching is something you're really interested in. Definitely with your family background,
Yes.
could see that. What would you like to do in the coaching world?
I would like to be a pitching coach, but also possibly transition into a head coach one day because I want to give back to the sport that's given me so much. They took a small town girl from Dandridge, Tennessee, and brought her to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and has shown her so much of the world.
Well, we look forward to seeing this journey. And again, hopefully a great one coming up. Your senior year here playing for the Crimson Tide. Catelyn, just thank you for all the time you've given us today here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Best of luck with everything moving ahead for you and Team 29. Roll Tide.
Thank you so much for having me. Roll Tide.
Iron made this place. But in order to take it all home, you need nerves of steel. The big one is back. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Well, Coleman Coliseum has been a busy place for Alabama athletics over this past week. We've seen the men's basketball team with a couple of impressive wins against Kentucky and Mississippi State. The women's basketball team defeating Auburn. And for all of our home games this year, we've had the Courtside Cam presented by NASCAR, and that's given us a lot of highlights. First, you'll see the men's basketball highlights from the win against Mississippi State as Alabama built up that huge lead against the Bulldogs. Chris Stewart, Brian Passing, Tom Stipe on the call for those. And then you'll have to see me for a little bit coming up for the Auburn highlights. A dramatic comeback victory for Alabama that had everybody at our broadcast table buzzing. You'll see why coming up in a moment. Again, Alabama Courtside Cam highlights, first for men's basketball and then women's basketball coming up here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
It's Bama versus Mississippi State on the hardwood as the tap is controlled by no one. It's batted out of bounds. Sears working behind the back with a dribble. Stops, looks, far wing for Mo. He says, I'll try it. Why not?
Mo Diabate was the first Alabama player in Coleman Coliseum before the game. And what was he working on? The three-point shot.
Trying to back his way down. No. Fires it to Mark. All alone. Here's Filon with it. Center of the floor. Over to Sears. Near wing three. Man, that's pretty. Drives down the lane. High out the window. No. Cliff. Absolutely yes with a follow. Bounce pass into the corner, goes to Stevenson. Jaron fires one to Filon. All alone. Three. Knocking down another bank first three. Their fifth on 9 tries to Holloway. Aiden dribbling away from a double team, weaving through traffic. Fires it over to Mark. All alone. Good night. That was pretty. Holloway to Sears for another bank first three.
Aiden Holloway looks like a Harlem Globetrotter point guard. Dribble on a string, finds his teammate Mark Sears for the wide open three.
Sears front court, crosses to his right, splits defenders down the lane. Look out, train. Grant Nelson right down Main Street, throws it home. Timeout Bulldogs. Looking to Cliff, back to CY. He'll try one. That's
Does he love playing against Mississippi State? Had 7 threes in the first matchup, and he is hot here in the first half.
LeBaron cut off, trying to drive right, hesitates, gives it off. Youngblood, he'll try one. Shoot fish in a barrel right now. Phylon working between the circles, goes left, goes right, dumps it off inside to Mo. He'll throw it home.
I thought he should have dropped it off to Chris Youngblood. He was open at the three-point line. Both of them are layups.
Mark driving, stopping, firing. Holloway, deep three. Drives, dishes. Mo, one more to Mark. Why not? What a half he has had along with his teammates. Buzzer sounds, half ends, and the Tide rolls to the locker room with a 53-27 advantage. Rebound run down by Nelson to Sears, to Holloway, over to Youngblood. He'll let it go again. He'll make it this time. Has it, feeds it near side. Stevenson for three. Said everybody else is having fun. Why don't I try it? Phylon on the drive for the Tide. Kicks it in the corner. Stevenson, another three. Another make. Another bank first three. And they're getting their money's worth tonight, folks. Bama will inbound it to Cliff. That's a good idea. Throw it up where he can get it. Now here's Youngblood. He'll try a three. That's a good idea. Throw it to him where he can shoot it, and he makes another bank first three. Mark driving down the lane. Whips a pass into the corner. Stevenson, another three. And he's made 3 in a row here in the second half. Over to Youngblood. It is absolutely insane what he and Mark are doing tonight. 27 for Youngblood, 19 for Mark, and the Tide continues to roll on. That is a Bama career best for Chris Youngblood at 27.
And Chris Youngblood's 14th made three against Mississippi State in 2 games.
Free throws are good, both by Murphy. Great call behind us.
He hasn't eaten either.
Yeah, neat either. Here's Bama going to Sears. Top of the arc, three, no good. Rebound tip twice, grabbed by Cliff, and he lays it in for 2.
That type of play is making Alabama a better team late in the season. Cliff Amore playing his best basketball, rebounding the ball at a high level.
It was too high, and here's Bama running the other way. Phylon sets up near wing 3, bottom. That one looked good. I ain't gonna risk it.
Yeah.
After Sears' first free throw, we'll take that station ID. Stipe breaks his wrist over here trying to get me to take one. First one's up, and it's no good. It's first miss of the night. It was a 1-and-1, couldn't take it. So hang on, Tom. Crossing over, going down the lane, laying it up, and couldn't get the layup to go. And I don't know why my voice changed.
Oh, that's so cool.
40 to go. Holloway, near side for 3. There we go. Fitting, isn't it? That's how we get to the century mark. He'll drive, he'll look, he'll feed it over to Phylon. Phylon to Holloway. Bottom.
I'm telling you, we need to save a few of those for Saturday. And Holloway running offense, trying to get the ball to Max.
Sherrell for 3. It's another one. 22 of 45 from 3. Phylon will dribble it out. Final 15 seconds of this ball game. The Tide will not try another one. 4 seconds, 3, 2 and 1, and Lord help, strike up the band. crowd night was awfully popular. A 3-rammer jammer night ain't bad either. 111-73 is your final. The Tide rolls to another win. Alabama now sitting at 23-5 on the year, 12-3 in the league.
The ball is tipped and away we go. The opening tap controlled by the Crimson Tide. Left side of the lane, fighting her way in, throws up a shot, short, great defense. Cody taken away by Barker. Here comes Alabama. Barker in the paint, finds Nye, left corner three. Bottom! Alabama fighting back. Against Nye to the free throw line. Here's Daniels driving in. Her shot blocked and ripped away by Kristy Azuma. On the right side, her pass tipped and stolen away by Carly Weathers. To Zay Green, out to Barker. Swiftly down the floor to an open Aaliyah Nye. Right corner three. Give it to her. Aaliyah Nye with another three-pointer to make it 29-18. Finds Bostic right side. A three-pointer blocked away with excellent effort. Carly Weathers. Crimson Tide get the takeaway. Now it's Zay Green. To the top of the key, Barker to an open Weathers, left corner three, swish! Carly Weathers the block, then the three, timeout Tigers. It's now an 8-point game in Tuscaloosa. Step to the left, now step to the right, spins around and lost the ball because it's stolen by SA. Barker with a clean steal, driving left side, layup up and in. Sarah Ashley Barker makes it 29-23. Crimson Tide keep fighting back, a 10-0 Alabama run. Alabama ball down by 4. Nye, right wing three. Swish! 15-0 run Alabama. It's a 1-point game. After the Tide had been trailing by 16, Bama's climbed all the way back to within a point. 29-28 with 52 seconds to go in this crimson-colored second quarter. Dribbling in the right front court. Now it's Green, handoff to Aaliyah Nye, 10 seconds left. Weathers at the top of the key. Bounce past Cody. Cody to an open Nye, right side layup good. 17-0 run. Alabama's climbed all the way back, and the Tide in front, 30-29. Half-court heave is up. Off the backboard, no good by Gaston, and this quarter is complete. Alabama will go to the locker room on a 17-0 run. Passes in the left corner, Green saves it in play. Nye, top of the key. Here comes the three. She's got it again. Aaliyah Nye, the best in the SEC, buries another tray. Starting to drive in from the left side. In the right corner, Barker with a three. She's got it. Donk has her pocket picked by Aaliyah Nye. Clean steal by Nye. Driving on the left side. Nye lets the traffic go by. Throws it up. Throws it in and one. Aaliyah Nye. Here's Weathers with a steal. Stole it right away from Bostic. Got it right back to Barker. Here comes Bama. Barker to Nye. Left side three. Bullseye! Aaliyah Nye buries the three-pointer, making it 63-48. Alabama over Auburn with 2:20 to go. Hunter with a three-pointer up right side, no good. The buzzer sounds, and this game is over. The Alabama Crimson Tide down by as much as 16 in the second quarter. Rally past the Auburn Tigers on this Sunday afternoon. Today's final score at Coleman Coliseum, Alabama 66 and Auburn 50. And in women's basketball, the state of Alabama is crimson.
Hey, I'm Chris Youngblood, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
There is nothing like Sweet Home Talladega. Don't miss out on NASCAR's return to Talladega Superspeedway on April 27th for the Jack Links 500. This is more than racing. This is Talladega. Purchase your tickets today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. Time to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. But before we say goodbye from Tuscaloosa, let's take a look at what's coming up here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network this weekend. Later tonight, Alabama taking on LSU women's basketball. Final home game of the year, possibly for the Tide. If Alabama gets a win tonight, you never know. You could see Alabama back here in a few weeks to host the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. But our coverage will start at 7:45. Don't forget about the Courtside cam coming up for that. Tomorrow, a busy day. First of all, a new episode of Tide TV This Week and the Nate Oates television show dropping to our TV affiliates and online as well. Then softball will start play in the Crimson Classic, first against UAB and then later on against Furman. The baseball team will be in action at 4 o'clock against North Dakota State. Then on softball, Saturday, SIUE coming up. That will be the senior day for Catelyn Riley, our guest from earlier today's show. Softball against Furman as well. Baseball will be taking on North Dakota State at 2 p.m. and then 3 p.m. What a showdown in Knoxville. Alabama men's basketball, number 6 in the country, taking on the 5th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Tip-off set for 3 p.m. Central, and our coverage will begin at 2 o'clock across across the network. Then on Sunday, softball will close out its weekend with just one game against UAB at 1 o'clock. At the same time, baseball closing out its 3-game series with North Dakota State. And then the women's basketball team will be on the road to Oklahoma, taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. At the moment, Alabama and OU tied for 5th in the SEC standings, so a huge matchup coming up on Sunday. And then we'll talk about it coming up on March 3rd with Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance, with Nate Oates coming up at 6 p.m. from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms at UA_CTSN for the latest on Alabama athletics, some behind-the-scenes looks at some of our broadcasts coming up over the weekend, as well as some clips as well from what should be a very exciting weekend of Alabama athletics. That's going to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. I want to say thank you to our guests, Kristy Curry and Catelyn Riley. Thank you as well to Ethan Carabin for not only putting the show together, but he also puts together our Courtside Cam highlights that you can find on all of our social media platforms, and we are privileged to put that in our show for today as well. For everybody at the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thanks for watching. Let's enjoy this weekend of Crimson Tide athletics as we close out February and start the madness that is March. It's all coming up. Thanks for watching again. Roll Tide.